Welcome back to the ARKAST Podcast, a podcast where we talk to the podcasters of Arkansas about the things that they're talking about. With me, as always, is Karen Trico Stewart.
Yes. Hi, Ty. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Excited about this episode.
Awesome. We have a guest.
Yes.
Yes. You want to introduce her?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have LaDonna Humphrey today, and I guess we'll just start off. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your work?
Sure. I'm excited to be here, by the way. So thank you for this today. I've been looking forward to it. I am wearing a lot of hats right now. I'm an author. I have 2 books out. They're both about the Melissa Witt case. And she went missing in December of 94, and then her body was found in 1995. And so I've been working that case for 8 years. And because of that case, I became a private investigator.
Wow.
And most recently, a podcaster myself. My podcast launched in September of 2022, and also a nonprofit executive director. So, like I said, wearing lots of hats right now.
Yeah, absolutely. What got you into the case of Melissa Witt?
So, I've been involved in, I guess, what you'd consider the true crime world for a very long time. And I started out by helping families that have missing loved ones, and had a nonprofit that we ran for almost a decade and a half called Let's Bring Them Home. And when we saw that that service was no longer needed, and there was a lot of reasons for it, we decided we wanted to finish strong with a documentary. A good portion of my board had a journalism background, and that seemed like the way we wanted to go. And for whatever reason, my team didn't choose a missing persons case. They chose the Melissa Witt case. And at first, I was pretty much against it. I was determined to do a documentary about the plight of missing adults, but fate had something else in store. And they sent me to the police department, and I met with detectives. And then I just knew then I had to get involved.
Wow. So that's so you do have many different channels in which you reach an audience. You not only have your podcast, like you said, you're also an author. You have the website. So this podcast is about helping Arkansas podcasters. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of having those different channels and how that helps you reach people?
Sure. Through the books, that does help us reach, an entire different category I have never learned about the Witt case. So that's been exciting and good for the case. But in the middle of writing those books and doing some investigative work into one of the tips that came in the Witt case, I really became passionate about uncovering more information about that particular group of crime that was happening on the internet. It's the death fetish community. And I decided the best way to expose them was through a podcast. And so Alicia Lockhart and I got together, and we said, "This is what we want to do." So we launched our podcast, Deep Dark Secrets, in September 2022. And that's been really amazing for us because we've grown pretty quickly. And we've reached another level of people who love true crime, so to speak, but they also want to learn and be educated and be victim focused. And that's been really exciting for us because we're trying to change federal obscenity laws and make people aware, to keep the next girl safe. So it's been a great platform for us. And it's something that I often say, why didn't I think of this sooner?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are many true crime podcasts out there, but not, many that touch on the topic that you touch on. How prevalent would you say that death fetishes are?
It's really scarier than you would think. It's about 100,000 people worldwide at any given time. But there's a lot more people that kind of dabble in it on the internet out of curiosity, or maybe they have other fetishes. And what we've been seeing is the amount of crime that comes out of these groups. Real murder, trafficking, stolen body parts. I mean, anything that you can imagine that could go on in the deep web or the dark web, we've uncovered that. So it's something that we think is important for people to know, even though it's a horrific thing, because you can't protect yourself if you don't know about it. And podcasting has been the way to get that message out to a very large group in a very short amount of time.
Can you talk a little bit about your process in terms of how much research it takes and just your process for recording episodes?
I can, and people ask us this a lot. Like, I think there's a preconceived idea that maybe podcasting is easy. You just get some equipment and you just go live with it, but that's really not it. It's important to us that we have accurate reporting that's also victim focused. And ours is a little different because we're actually exposing people who are producing death fetish. And so we have to do that in a way that's not doxing. We have to do it in a way that's not legal. So that is legal. That's not illegal. Clarify that. And we
Slow the tongue.
spend, yeah, we want to make sure. We spend anywhere between 20 and 25 hours a week on research and preparing what our topic is going to be because we record every single week. And then, of course, we've got the process of editing and all of that. So it's a full-time job for Alicia and I. It really is. Because we want to do this and do it well. And I think that's why our audience has grown and we've gotten to the place that we have with this podcast because people can count on us for accurate reporting on a topic that's pretty scary. And we do it in such a
Mhm.
way that it's not too disgusting. It's not too frightening. And that takes a lot of work to do that.
So something we've never covered on this show is, of course, using journalism in your podcasting on this level, where it is you're exposing a completely, a subculture that exists out there, and so how much of you having a true crime podcast, how much investigating are you doing? Are you finding out where these people are hanging out online, where their communities are, how they're sharing the photos, that type of thing? What goes into that?
A lot goes into that because we work with law enforcement. Because one, what you have to understand is that some of these communities are illegal. It depends on what state you're in, what you
Mhm.
access. So we needed the support of law enforcement. And so that's a whole nother level. And we got that here. And what we've done is we've gone undercover in these forums. So we're actually immersing ourselves in this culture and pretending to be one of them under various screen names. And that's how we've gathered our intel. And so there's a lot that goes into that because we see other things that are happening that we have to immediately report to law enforcement. Sometimes we've worked with the FBI. Um, it's pretty intense. It's something that I never saw myself doing, but once I understood that this community existed, I knew I had to get involved and do something. So it takes every bit of my background in journalism and in private investigating to be able to do what we're doing. And the same with Alicia. I mean, it's hard, scary work some days.
Can you tell us a little bit about Alicia and the process of having a co-host?
Yeah, so I met Alicia because she's actually someone that called in a tip to the Witt case about this community. And we write about that in our book, Strangled, about her connection. She was really young, was asked to make a film. She made a film that was very similar to the Witt case. And then when she found out about me online, she called it in and said, "Hey, I think this could be connected to the Melissa Witt case." And so we got to know each other really well in the very beginning because of that tip. But then we joined forces really to go undercover in these communities because we knew that we had to put a stop to it, but we were also looking for more information about the Witt case and other cases. And so by the time we had done that, we were a year into this. We'd become pretty good friends. I could trust her, she could trust me. We had the same goals, and that's when we sort of hatched this plan for a podcast. And it's, a little bit more difficult because she's in the Virgin Islands and I'm in Arkansas. There's a time difference and all of that. So it takes a lot of coordination, but it's been a good process. I mean, we're a good team. And I think that that's what it takes if you have a co-host, is that you have to be working with someone that you can trust, that's going to put in every bit of effort that you do and can pick you up on your days that you're down and you can pick them up on their days that they're down. Because this is hard work. And I don't say it just about our podcast. I think any podcast is a lot of hard work, especially if you're doing a good job. And what's important to me is that we both work really hard and we do that. And I think that's shown in our work. And I think that that's really important when you're thinking about a podcast.
Mm-hmm. How do you record your podcast? Because it doesn't sound, you mentioned she's in a different location, but it sounds like you're in the same space.
We actually use a platform called Zencaster, and we so far we've been pretty happy with that. I mean, it depends on your internet connection sometimes, but yeah, that's what we use, and it's worked really well for us right now because we call it our little bitty baby that's growing up, and I'm sure as we continue to grow, that we may change the platform that we use, but right now it puts us together in a way that normally wouldn't happen since we're so far away from each other.
Mhm. Yeah, and this is more of a comment than a question, but what I think is that you have, many things to be proud of, but you have a 4.9 rating on Apple and 252 reviews. I don't really see that very much. So you're definitely creating something that is appreciated and very well respected.
Oh, thank you. I mean, we're really proud of that because what we're trying to do is provide a service to keep people safe. That's the way we see
Mhm.
this. Like we're trying to serve the community. And so it's a very different approach than a lot of podcasts take. And I think that's helped us grow a really dedicated following of people who either really love what we do or they think we're really crazy for it. One or the other. But I appreciate you saying that because that does make us proud.
Hmm. Oh, that's great.
You said earlier that when you're trying to get some of these stories out to the public for them to know about these cold cases or sub genre of culture, the best way to do that is through podcasting. What made you choose podcasting? And then obviously you dabble in a little bit of different media. You have books and that type of things, and they play off of each other. But why podcasting above all?
Because of my experience with writing books and just the work that I've done on social media, because that's been a big deal. It's been a big part of the Witt case. I grew a really big following that way. I don't think that books are the same as they used to be, right? Because we've got the rise of the internet and Kindle and all those things. And so it's harder for people to consume an entire book because they want to be fed things a different way, short snippets. And so we did a lot of research, and podcasting really is where it's at if you have an important message to share, because people are more likely to tune in and listen and have more time to do that, like during a commute to work or when they're exercising or, right before they go to bed. And they're less likely to read. I mean, the art, and I call it the art of reading, a good book, it's just not there anymore. So
Right.
it's just not there.
Yeah.
How do you make your media that you are putting out there, like your books and your podcast, sort of reflect off of each other? Because whenever you go to, I'll say, another festival or you're being featured, I'm sure you advertise and tell people about all the different things that you're doing. So how do you make those things sort of relate to each other or correlate?
So that has been an interesting challenge, and it's a good question.
Okay.
But marketing is something that I enjoy, and I do consider that a marketing aspect of what I do. And so everything I've done right now is tied to the Melissa Witt case, from the nonprofit that we started to the books that I've written. There's an element of that in this first season of my podcast, and so that's how we tie it all together, and it's worked really, really well for us right now. And eventually I won't be writing just about the Witt case. I've got other books that'll be coming out, but that will still touch on these topics that are really, really important to me. Through this, unfortunately, I've become an expert on strangulation and a lot of different things. And those are cases that I'll be focusing on. It'll still stay tied together. And it just worked out really, really well that way. And it makes it easier for people to say, oh, that makes sense. All of this work came out of this one particular case. I would like that to be like a legacy, a positive legacy, outside of what happened to Melissa Witt, because her life meant so much more than this murder that happened. That was just a
Mhm.
small portion of who she was and what she was. And I want people to remember her in a positive way and her death to make a difference.
Mhm.
For sure. I was reading before we jumped on here. I saw your article in AY magazine when you were one of the intriguing women, and you said that you have 7 kids. Is that correct?
I do. I have 7 kiddos.
Okay.
2 are
That's a lot to
biological, and then
balance.
it is a lot. I have them from kindergarten all the way up to
Wow.
age 26. So
I was going to ask, how do they feel about mom being part of this true crime world?
Well, people ask me that a lot too, and I try to shelter them as much as I can.
Mm.
They definitely don't know about the topic of the podcast. They don't know about the topic of strangled. They know mom wrote a book called Strangled, but they mainly know that mom's advocating for a girl that was murdered, and her name
Mhm.
is Melissa Witt. And they do know that, and they're proud of that. And I have 5 girls, and what I want to teach my girls is that you can advocate and you can do anything that you want to do. And that's really the avenue that I take with them, because they don't need to know the the topics that are so horrifying. Not right now.
Right.
But yeah, they all know, and I think they're pretty supportive. My kindergartner snuck a couple of my books in her backpack and gave them to her teacher, so that was interesting.
Wow. Okay.
um, but I think they're excited about it.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, speaking of the many avenues that you reach people, you're also now hosting an event. Can you tell us a little bit about what that event is and how that all came to be?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that too. So you're going to see me get all excited. But we're hosting True Crime Fest NWA. And that was really just born out of the desire to have a platform to share victim focused advocacy in our state. And we wanted to do it as a fundraiser for our nonprofit. My nonprofit's called All the Lost Girls, and that was founded in honor of Melissa Witt. And we focus on strangulation cold cases and education for women's safety. And so we expected we'd have 50, 60, maybe 100 people max, sign up for this event. And that is not what happened. It kind of blew up. We've got 500 people coming. It's going to be a very large event in our state. And it's something I'm really, really proud of and excited, because we've brought in some of the best folks from the state and the nation who are so victim focused, and they want to make a difference. And then this year, our featured case will be that of Melissa Witt. And I'm just really excited. It's just come together so beautifully, and it's something I'm really, really proud of, something I wasn't expecting to happen on this level, but I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, that's great. And one element of that is a documentary on Melissa Witt. Is that right?
It is. So we've been working on this Melissa Witt documentary for 8 years, and
Wow.
it's been one of the hardest things I've ever done. I'm proud of it. This doc is about as indie as it's ever going to get, because it's self-funded, and we did all of the work ourselves. But we're finally going to launch it, and that's how we're going to wrap up True Crime Fest. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the world to see it. And I'm excited to say we've accomplished this, and then we'll move on to the festival circuit with that doc as soon as True Crime Fest is over. So I think good things. I mean, the whole point is to share Melissa's story and to get it out there. And I'm really glad that we're launching it at True Crime Fest. I mean, it worked out pretty well. So I'm proud of it. And then I'm planning on a second doc. So that's kind of in the works.
Wow.
That's awesome. And speaking of your guests that you're going to have there, this isn't for us trying to self promote. You know what I mean? I was going to ask about the other guests that you have there. Okay, so your other guests that you have are some of the true crime or true crime, that whole genre of podcasting. You've got some prominent names that are coming that are going to be speaking. So I know obviously you're a podcaster, but when you're hosting an event for people who are interested in a certain type of subject, like true crime, right? So everybody sees the documentaries on Netflix and that type of thing. But what made you want to bring some podcasters into this world too?
Because of this journey I've been on along the way, I've met a lot of great people that do a lot of great things. And those are the people I wanted to reach to. And then there's some people that I hadn't met before, like the two of you. And I'm super excited you're going to be a part of this event, because you're doing some amazing work. And I think that's important. And so, we've got folks like James Renner, Jennifer and Lance from Crossface Media, who are launching their brand new podcast, Dark Valley, at the event. We've got Nick Edwards from True Crime Garage. That's going to be there virtually. He's going to have a beer with the audience virtually. I think that's kind of exciting. United States of Murder. They're right here. They're homegrown. They're from Arkansas and the Little Rock area. We just have some amazing people who are making a difference. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think if you're going to have an event that's true crime focused, that you have a responsibility to make sure that it's victim focused and that you're not getting off into the weeds and glorifying the murderer or anything like that. And I feel like this group of people are going to do just that. They're going to show the world what is important, and that's staying focused on the victims, telling these stories and making a difference so you can see crime solved, but on top of that you can prevent this from happening to anybody else.
So you mentioned 500 people buying tickets. Are these mostly from Arkansas, or what are you seeing?
It's mostly from Arkansas, but we have people coming in from Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas. We've got some people flying in from California. That shocked me. I think next year it'll grow even larger. We're really anticipating that. Tickets are still on sale right now. I still think that we'll probably see quite a few more sell, but they're coming from everywhere because this is, easier to get to than some of the bigger events that are out there, like CrimeCon. And I love CrimeCon. I'm a part of CrimeCon, and they're very supportive of what we're doing. But this is more centrally focused for folks who want to spend a day because they love this type of thing. They want to come meet the podcasters or say thank you, or families that have had tragedy that want their story told. They're coming, and maybe they can find a podcaster that will pick up their story. I think that that's really, really important. And we've also made tickets available for free to law enforcement and their families. And we think that's important too, because that's some networking, and maybe there's a detective that has a cold case and he can meet up with somebody and say, hey, can you cover this case? So, that's our heart and that's our goal, but we're shocked. I'm still shocked that we have 500 people coming. I say that and I think, how is that possible? But there's just a lot of people really excited. So
yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
for sure.
I think it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a good thing. And I wasn't going to get into the self-promotion thing, but since you mentioned it, we will be there. We will be speaking, and
Yes.
we're really excited about it and can't wait for 2 weeks from now. And you said for the first year, it's going to be mostly around Melissa Witt. Does that mean that you're already planning another year?
Yes. So we've already got 2024 on the books, and it's going to be on May 11th. Same location, Rogers Convention Center. We're going to invite you guys back to come and speak. So I'm excited about that. And we will pick another case that we will focus on. And so what I'm going to do and what our team is going to do is we're going to work with all of the speakers from this year and invite them to a little round table via Zoom. And we're going to all together decide what case we're going to choose for next year. I think that's important that we all have a say in it. And then we'll reach out to that family and make that happen.
Wow. And it's so interesting to me that you do incorporate law enforcement. How has that relationship been, and how was it built to begin with?
So for the Witt case, of course, when I first met them, I came in as this investigative journalist that's doing a documentary, and they really wanted the documentary done. And so they kind of ambushed me when we first met, is what I tell them, because when I walked into the room, they had all the retired detectives that had ever worked Melissa's case in the room that wanted to talk to me, along with the chief of police and along with the current detective. And seeing their passion was really amazing to me. And so, of course, we chose the case and we moved forward. And I think what happened through this process is that law enforcement saw the work that was being done was really beneficial. We were bringing in new tips, new leads in the case. And they also saw that they could trust me. And so it was a slow process of them doing something different. They were working at the time with a civilian. I didn't even have my license to be a private investigator. And so just time and trust was built, and now we work as a team because the work that's being done is so beneficial to Melissa Witt's case. And so we meet sometimes monthly if we can to talk about what's going on, new leads, what we're seeing. It's been fantastic. And what I hope can happen is that by inviting law enforcement from across the state to come and letting them come for free, is that they can learn about this relationship that our team has built with law enforcement in the Witt case, and potentially could build that with other trustworthy people. And I think that's really, really, really important, that that happens, because these cold cases need people that are advocating outside of police, because think about all of the cases that they have on their plate. So there's a vision there, and we want to see it replicated for other cases, because this works. I think that we're going to see the Witt case solved, and a lot of it's going to be because of teamwork and the things that we've done. And I hate to use the word promote, because that is so cringy to say you promoted a case, but you built awareness for a case, and I think it's made all the difference.
How close do you think you are to some kind of resolution in the Melissa Witt case?
I think we're going to see it happen really, really soon. We're that close. I think we've identified who the killer is, and I think we're just waiting for those dominoes to fall. And it's just almost every day I'm waiting by the phone, because I literally expect that phone call that they've made an arrest. And I'm really, really hopeful, because this has been a lot of years of my life, and I really, truly want to see Melissa Witt's case solved. And then I'm going to take a vacation when that happens. That's what I said. We're close. I think it's going to happen any day.
Wow. A lot. I've heard you say twice in this interview, I never expected, to do this. What did you expect to do, and how were you, drawn into this? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I've said it, and you just pointed it out several times. I really just thought that we would complete a documentary and we'd be done in 6 months, and I would go on with the next thing in my life. I just never planned for this. And when I got involved and the investigators took me out to the site where Melissa Witt's body was found, my life completely changed that day. Just being out there, knowing how long she'd been out there, her age, that her life was stolen, having girls of my own at the time, my daughter was close to the same age. I just vowed I had to do something. And I never thought that it would take me on the path of becoming a PI or writing books. There was never a plan to write books. But COVID happened, and, that slowed down the process of the doc. And so that's why the books were born. So I really attributed it all to just that passion. I became passionate. It's almost like I had goals for my life that were completely outside of this, but fate had something else in store for me. And I'm proud to be doing this work. I really, really am. I just didn't expect people to respond to it. You just never know what that's going to be like. And so it's been a very humbling experience. And I'm very grateful, because every bit of the work I do is for Melissa. And I take that really, really seriously. And, starting the nonprofit and doing the fest, that kind of takes it outside of just the Witt case now. And that's where my heart is I want to work with people like you. I want to work with, people like True Crime Garage, Catherine Townsend, those folks that are making a difference, and talk to them about the cases that are important to them and showcase that, so we can see some resolution and make a difference. It all comes back to making a difference.
Yeah. And how are you working? Like, I think George Jarrett is also covering the Melissa Witt case. How do you all come together and do this? What's the relationship there?
I'm not sure if George is covering the Witt case or not. He may be. We work together sometimes on things, but I met him on this process. I think I met him in person at CrimeCon last year in Vegas, and I think we'd talked before. But I really enjoy the work that he's doing. I think he wants to make a difference. He is making a difference, and we just share information. Sometimes there'll be things that he hears, or he'll get on social media and he'll send it my way. And I like having that relationship with people. And I do the same, folks, when I see they're covering a case or I get some information in a case, I work together. And that's one of the things that I wanted to change, because this, as you know, this particular genre is pretty competitive and can be pretty cutthroat. It really can. And maybe all podcasting is, all genres are, but this particular one is tough. And I really want to have an environment and a relationships with people where you work together and you cheerlead for each other and you support each other. And so I feel like we're doing that. And he's really good at that. He's been so supportive of everything that I've done. And I want to do the same for him and for everybody that's on board at True Crime Fest, and just outside of that, people that want to work together. I think it's important, and you don't see that a lot in the world in general, I think. And I'm going to change it, I hope, for at least this genre, and say, can't make a difference if you don't work together.
Yeah, that's amazing. You have any more questions,
Did you?
Todd?
Well, I thought you had some more.
I do, but I'm going to let you jump in.
Okay. True crime is more her world than it is mine. So I'll let her ask the important questions while I'm going to ask you some other things. So yeah, working together, of course, is very important. How have you seen the art or the media of podcasting grow? I hear that like Northwest Arkansas has a big community of podcasters there. How have you seen it like grow? Because like it came out the early 2000s when it first was called podcasting, and it's kind of the same sort of attitude that people had when it was just like, oh, you got a blog on your website, that's nice, you know. But now it's it's more respectable. I assume I've seen more people go on news programs to advertise their podcast. So it seems to be like a growing medium, and then year over year, if you look at the numbers, like listenership across the world is growing by 20% every year. So how has it grown up there in your neck of the woods?
It's growing a lot, and not just in the true crime genre, but I see lots of podcasts popping up, business focused, comedy, all kinds of things. So I would say, at least in the kind of the circle I see, it's doubled. And I think that's interesting. I think what happens is that a lot of people say, I'm going to start a podcast, and they do, and they get into it, and they don't realize the kind of work that is involved. Because even outside of true crime, if you're going to do any kind of podcast, you've got to put your all into it. And there's a lot of things to consider. Everything from script writing, if you want to script out what you're going to say, to research, to promoting your podcast, to networking, to editing, which is huge. You've got to be able to, if you can't do it, who's going to do it for you? There's a lot. And so I think it's just really important to share that information, because you see a podcast pop up and then they close, they're gone in a couple of months or 6 months because they just didn't realize how much work went into it. And they need people they can network with. So that's why I love what you guys have going. You have some amazing things that you're going to be doing. And I think that's important to help bring podcasters together so you can help each other, no matter what the genre is.
Mm-hmm. And so you clearly have a passion for what you're covering. And it is hard to podcast. I completely agree with you. I think a lot of people get into it and say, okay, this is a lot harder than I thought.
Oh,
but
yeah.
in general, what would you say to someone who has a passion for any topic, but is intimidated by getting into podcasting?
I think that I would suggest you do some research. A case that you're passionate about, for instance, if it's true crime, get out there and do some research. Find out who's already covered the case, or if there's anybody working on the case, and reach out to them. Hey, what can you tell me? Do you have a few minutes? Can you give me some pointers? This is what I'm thinking about doing. And so make sure that there's not somebody else already doing what you want to do, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel. And I think that's the first step. And then if you find that what you've got is not out there already, right, and you definitely want a podcast, then I think that you get with some seasoned folks. I think people could reach out to you and say, hey, you've got this podcast. It's amazing. What can I do? Can you give me some pointers? And I think working with seasoned people and making sure that seasoned people who've been in it are willing to kind of mentor and say, here's what's really involved. You're going to have really high highs and really low lows, and share those experiences. I think that's important. And I think people shouldn't be afraid to do that. That'll make the experience, I think, less intimidating. And that's what I did. I reached out to a lot of people that I knew and asked, hey, what's the real deal? What's this like? And they were honest with me. It's hard for you. It's going to be hard to grow an audience. And they were right. It is very hard. It's super hard.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned 25 to 30 hours a week. So, and obviously you are a professional podcaster, but have you found a way to really make money from podcasting, and have it, be supporting, or, some income from it?
We are making some income. just a great deal, but we have monetized the podcast, and we're really pleased about what that's looking like for us. And so our first goal, and you got to be realistic, because I think people think, oh, I'm going to be a podcaster and I'm going to make all this money. And no, you're not. It takes a long time to build that up. And our first goal was to make enough money to cover our expenses, because there are expenses involved. Everything from equipment to your Zencaster subscription to all sorts of things. And so we're at break even. I'm proud of that. I am really proud of that. And I know people may say, break even, 8 months, 9 months. Are you kidding me? Hey, that's a big deal. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there. And so we're projecting it as far, we're about to hit, we'll probably hit it today, 30,000 downloads, which is a big deal for us. And our goal is that we would reach the next step at 50,000 downloads to be able to start, bringing in maybe somebody that can help us with research. And then we're just kind of taking it in increments. So the next couple of years, we'll be able to fully break away from full-time jobs and do our podcasting and our writing full-time. That's the goal for sure. And I think that that's a good trajectory that we're on, because we're growing the way we are.
Yeah.
Great. I guess it's my turn. Silence. So we are excited about coming to of course, True Crime Fest in Northwest Arkansas. Did you have any thoughts about bringing it anywhere else?
Well, we're going to do that. We're not going to do it the first couple of years. We're going to wait until year 3. And then we plan to take it to either Kansas City or Dallas, in addition to keep it in Northwest Arkansas. And the reason we want to do that is there's just a market for it. And there are people that want the experience of getting to meet some of their favorite podcasters that they admire and come learn about cases in a really festival type environment. We had a couple people say, oh, there's no such thing as fest with true crime. And I think there is. I think there really is. I think that you can have a good time and meet people and do it in a really kind and compassionate way at a festival where people want to come and they learn some things, and you stay very victim focused. And I just think it's important. And so we do plan to do it in at least 3 other cities and really have some growth by year 5. And so we're trying to bring on people that we really trust right now that would want to grow with us, like you guys. We've got some other people, and invite them to come along on this journey and say, hey, come with us next year. And year 3, come with us to Dallas, come with us to Kansas City, because that's important. And I think that shows the consumers of true crime, right? Because that's what they are. They're consuming this information, that there is a group of responsible podcasters and authors and advocates that want to come to your city. They want to sit with you and they want to talk to you about issues that are really, really important. And we want to do it in a way that respects the victims. And that's the goal right there. So you guys are invited. We want you to join us when we travel.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah.
We're very excited too. Yeah. I love your goal and your mission. And you still have so many other things that you do. Can you talk to us about Oasis?
Yes, I'm the executive director of Oasis of Northwest Arkansas, and Oasis provides safe and sober housing and resources for women in recovery from drugs and alcohol and their children. I've been doing that for 5 years. I'm really, really passionate about working with women in recovery. It's really important to me. And that's something that I'll continue to do the next couple of years. And eventually I may retire from that position. But for right now, I'm just trying to help that agency grow. It's something I'm proud of. There's a lot of people that need help in the community. And, I'm all about trying to help women. And this is one of those avenues. And so, yeah, I'm glad you asked about that, because that is some important work. And it's something that I'm going to keep doing, and I hope that I can inspire other people to get involved with, because it does take a community to help someone heal from drug and alcohol addiction. And it's just a big part of my life, and I want others to learn about it too. So if anybody follows me on social media, they're going to see a lot of posting about true crime, but they're also going to see a lot of posting about women in recovery and the things that we're trying to do to make the community better.
Mhm. Do you have a personal experience that has made you so passionate about working with women in that way?
I do. I have a family member that I won't name that has struggled with a drug addiction for many, many years. And I've had a couple of friends that have struggled, and I've lost some friends to addiction. And that makes me really, really passionate about helping someone recover. There's such a stigma for uh, someone that's struggling with addiction, and everything from the way they look to people judge the way, maybe their intelligence level and all of those things. It's really awful. And so I'm trying to help break the stigma. And I think it's especially difficult for a woman who's recovering. Her circumstances are so much different because she's usually the person that is taking care of the children. Not always, but a good portion of the time. And it's harder for her to pick up and then become the breadwinner and all of those things and recover and maybe get your children back from foster care and all of those things. And that's one of the avenues that I'm passionate about because I've been a foster parent for so long. I'm not now, but I was for 5 years. And I adopted children out of the foster care system whose parents were addicts. And so I have this unique view on it. And adoption is beautiful and wonderful, and I don't regret it. But there needs to be people advocating for these families to heal so they can get their kids back. And that's what we try to do. And it's work. I'm really excited you asked me about it because it's work that it's really important to me.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, you do so many things, like you said. You wear so many hats, so it's really neat to see the passion that you have for this.
Well, I appreciate that. And I won't be wearing all these. I mean, I will continue on with the podcasting and I'm going to continue on with, the book writing. The board of directors at Oasis knows that, we're going to start looking for somebody to take my place in the next couple of years, just because it's time for me to move on to the next season of my life. And I'll be honest, it's really, really hard to work in this industry because you see so many people die. I go to a lot of funerals and it's hard on you emotionally, but I want to leave a good legacy and make the organization strong and pass the torch on to the next person. And I think we've identified who that's going to be, and I'm excited about that. And I'll stay involved. I'll always care about the recovery community, always. But I think it's time for me to kind of move on to a new season.
Mhm.
With so many hats that you wear right now, I know you're sort of you're going to hand that one off, but I take it that you're not the type of person that sits still very well, and you do a lot of things, right? How do
Right.
you balance your time between all of those?
I do get that question a lot. And it's something I have to be very, very intentional about
Mm.
because I am a mom and that job is first and foremost the most important thing I'll ever do in my life. And I take my kids to school every day. It needs to be me. I pick them up every day. And then I come home and it's my kids. And I try not to work in the true crime realm after school. I need to be focused and I need to be really there for my kids. And it's all about intention. I do work a lot more hours than probably a lot of people do. Um, but I work my schedule where it doesn't impact my kids or my family. And I think that's, first and foremost. So, and I don't recommend this kind of schedule for everybody. I had somebody ask me the other day, when do you sleep? Not much, but it's just for a season. It's just while we're launching these things right now. And then my life will get a little bit better because, next year we'll hire somebody that's going to work for the details on the fest. I'm not going to have to do that next year. It'll be somebody else. I mean, I'm still involved, but we'll have like a director who's going to do those things. And so it's just a season and it's worth it because I think these things are all really important and it's going to make a difference for so many people across the United States that it's worth the hard work right now.
Mhm. And you mentioned incorporating your journalism background. For people who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about what that background is?
Yeah, so I went to the university with a study in journalism and business, and then I went back and I've studied criminal justice. And then I've been writing for years. I've wrote for several local magazines for years and years and years about nonprofits and other things. And then I've, participated in blog writing and those kind of things that aren't quite as exciting anymore as writing. I've moved on to writing books. And so always had an interest in, you know, the investigative part of things. And so that's what I've kind of always done. And I'm, I like that. I won't always do the investigative journalism the way I'm doing it now. I'll keep doing it with the podcast. I'm not going to take on a case like I did with the Witt case again. That's like a once in a lifetime kind of thing, I think. But what I hope to do is through all the Lost Girls, have a team of people that takes on cases together. And so that kind of work wouldn't have been in vain. It just kind of goes on and other people are doing it. And so that's really kind of the goal, is to teach people what I've done and kind of empower them to go on and do it. And so I'm going to be teaching some classes and doing some advocacy school work and doing some things like that through all the Lost Girls to empower other people. Because I get a lot of people reaching out, wanting to know, how do you do it? What can I do? And so I plan to do that so I can teach other people to do this, because I'm tired too, and I'm not sure that I have what it takes to take on another case, myself like this. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Okay.
does.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how can people, if they were interested in coming to True Crime Fest, can you tell us how they can get tickets?
Yeah, they can. They better hurry, because we've got just a little bit of tickets left and they're going fast. But they can visit allthelostgirls.org and just click on True Crime Fest in the menu, and then you can go directly to where we're selling the tickets, which is through Eventbrite. And there's 3 different tickets you can buy. There's a VIP for Friday night and Saturday, and that gets you into everything that's happening at the fest. The documentary, everything. You can buy general admission, which is Saturday only, and that's a 12-hour day. So you start at 9:00 and it ends with documentary. Or you can just buy a documentary ticket. And we tried to make it where everybody could participate on whatever level they wanted to. So pretty easy to go. I think we just have a very small amount of tickets left. So if people are interested, they definitely need to go snag them up. And I think it'll be worth it. I think it's going to be an exciting event. And it feels like Northwest Arkansas is getting excited about it. So that makes me happy.
Got anything else?
I would say, there seems to be quite a bit of conversation coming out of it, and the more I see you posting constantly promoting this, which is great, because now you're about to sell out of tickets, and you sold all the tickets you possibly could. Good job on that huge event.
Thank you.
And people are really excited about going there, because every time I've reposted whatever you put out there, they're like, "Oh wow, this is happening!" They get excited about it. It's just the thought of it. I think there's 2 different sides to this, where it's the feeling like you're pursuing justice for the victims that didn't ever have that for cold cases, or any other kind of true crime cases, and then there's the casual documentary on Netflix viewer that are just fascinated by like what kind of darkness can humans commit, and they're sort of chasing that. They're fascinated by that. And so, but both of them interested, and I think there's a way to get everybody. Like you said, there's a lot of networking. There are a lot of booths and speakers, and so you're gonna find something that you're interested in there, and it's gonna be great. I can't wait to actually go there. And also, I guess we want to go ahead and announce that LaDonna is going to be one of our speakers at ARKAST this year in September. So be sure to go to True Crime Fest in May. To see it first.
Yeah, we are so excited all around for True Crime Fest and just for ARKAST, and having you be a guest for that, because that's a big deal for us.
Well, I'm excited. I was honored to be invited. I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited to work with the 2 of you. I mean, you do really good work. And I think we've been really strategic in who we've brought into True Crime Fest. We've had a lot of people that applied that we said, "I'm sorry, I don't think that you're a right fit for us." and there's a lot of reasons why. And so we're just trying to be responsible and work with people we know are making a difference and are going to work every bit as hard as we are. So kudos to the two of you. So I'm really glad to be working with you.
Yeah, I was honored before, and now I'm double honored now that I know that some people were rejected. It's like, oh wow, okay, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, there were quite a few people that we had to say, hey, we really love that you wanted to come to True Crime Fest. Thank you.
yeah,
But let me explain to you our focus and why we think that we're
mhm,
not on the same mission right now. It doesn't mean that we won't be in the future, but for right now, we need to make sure that we are launching an event that the community can trust is not glorifying murderers in any way. That's really, really important to me. And that we're not profiting off of true crime, that we're legitimately trying to make a difference. And, for us, proceeds of this event go to a nonprofit, All the Lost Girls. We're also sharing a portion of the proceeds with a group called the Cyber Helpline, and they're going to be coming to speak. Charlotte Hopper, she's coming from England. They're going to be launching a United States version of the Cyber Helpline as well. Next year, we're going to we're going to share proceeds with the Porchlight Project. I mean, we're very, very intentional of investing this money that comes in from ticket sales to helping cold cases. And so, that's what we're going to do. And I think it's important. And when we start seeing things, cases being solved or, more resources being provided, I think people will feel really, really good about, hey, that's where my ticket sales went to. And I got to meet some really cool people. That's kind of where the heart is for this. Next year, we'll be launching the Justice Awards. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be happening through our venue. And we're actually going to be giving a couple of awards this year as a surprise. The people that are getting them do not know. Actually, they'll be notified this week. But
awesome.
I think that's important too, because there's some really, really great people doing some really great work.
Yeah. Yeah, that recognition is a wonderful piece of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Well, you
important, I
are.
think. And again,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say,
No,
again, it's just so important that we build trust with the community, because there's people that have been hurt and families aren't very trusting of the true crime genre for good reason. There's been a lot of exploitation and things that have happened. And so we're trying to change that. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just felt like that's
no.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that not only are you doing a lot for victims, but you're also doing a lot for podcasting in Arkansas and getting stories out there, and being inspirational in that way. So I
Oh,
think
thank you.
Arkansas
I
is,
appreciate that.
yeah, we're just, I think the state is happy to have you as a resource. So, yeah.
Well, I'm happy to be here and I love it. I really love it. So I'm excited to do great things, and we'll see what happens over the next year.
Well, I guess we'll let it go. Are
Mhm.
you good? Okay, okay. I didn't know if you had another question or not. Okay. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, and especially while you had strep throat. That's something to overcome.
Yes.
And you weren't expecting video. So sorry to put your whole day through a loop. But I appreciate
No,
you being
I'm
here.
happy to do it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and with us, and for inviting us, and for being our guest at ARKAST. And so we look forward. What we're going to do in the future is going to be awesome. Yeah. Anything else you wanna add to that?
No, I mean, thank you, LaDonna, for taking time. I look forward to getting to talk with you even more, and yeah, that's what I have to
Okay.
say.
Okay.